Alright, we're going to add a shooting mechanism, and I've done that by adding already. I have added an empty, okay, and it is already parented to the camera because that's where it was originally. So I parented this empty to the camera. The camera is parented to the player, the cube. Alright, and so we are going to use that to shoot. So I've called it shooter. Alright, and all I've done there is when I press the space bar, actually let's make this a bit bigger so you can see it. So I'm using the scroll to hold down the scroll to move this around. So on this empty shooter, I press the space bar and it's going to add an object called bullet, which I'll show you in a minute. I'm going to only let it stay around for 50 frames so it doesn't stay forever and ever. And it is shooting on the y-axis. I put a speed, velocity of 20 on there. So that is that part. Now we need to create this object that we're shooting on a different layer. So I added a UV sphere, okay, and I called it bullet, and I made it to be dynamic, and the collision bounds is sphere, okay, and here are the settings for this sphere. Now again, this all goes in bits and pieces, so we have to start somewhere. So I have a property on this sphere of red, so that when a collision takes place between red and the cube that we're going to be shooting at will have a property of blue. So when a collision takes place between red and blue, what do we want to happen? We are going to send a message to a second empty called empty score. I made up a subject, so I call it add 10 because I'm going to add 10 points. So this is an object we will have to create. This you can call anything you want, but it's got to be consistent with wherever you use it. So I call it add 10. Secondly, when there's a collision after it sends the message, we want to delete the object. So I did edit object, end object. So that again is are the settings for this guy. Now back on the main level, I have already created an object called blue cube, and it's already there. So I'm going to move it out. So there's the blue cube that we're going to be shooting at, and as I said, it has a property that I created called blue. Alright, now the settings for the blue cube. When it is hit by red, when there's a collision between this cube and red, we want it to end itself. Alright, so the object disappears. Alright, notice also up here on the blue, there's no particular settings there. It's just you don't have to change anything here. Alright. Alright, now one last thing. We have to create another empty, which I called empty score, and it's right here. It doesn't matter if you can see it or not, but I'll pull it where you can see it because it's invisible. But this one has can I get in here a little bit bigger? This one has a variable called scores, but this one is set to integer, and I turn on the debug property monitor. Alright, so we press that, change it to integer, put in there, and then I go up under game menu and make sure that that check mark on show debug properties is in fact checked off. Alright, so now when this receives the message of add 10, which is going to be sent when there's a collision, when it is sent, we want it to then change the property of scores, which is in here, to 10, which in turn will go to the debug properties and show it on screen. So that's a review of that. Now if I shoot, here's the P for play. If I shoot, and you can see that the score went up. Let's do that in a larger size so you can see it better. So I'm going to go up here and I'll play P and shoot, and you can see everything disappeared and the score went up. that ends that part.